Have you ever noticed that the women who leave the deepest impression are rarely the loudest in the room? They don't chase attention. They don't beg to be understood. They don't prove their worth. Instead, they possess something far more powerful, a quiet confidence that speaks before they ever say a word. Here's the truth. People don't become captivated by what you demand from them. They become captivated by how you make them feel and by the mystery you leave behind. Today, we're going to explore 10 silent moves that create attraction through confidence, self-respect, and authenticity. Not manipulation, but genuine personal strength that matters. The moment you stop asking, "Am I enough?" is the moment your life begins to change. Most people spend years trying to convince the world that they deserve love, respect, attention, or admiration. They work harder than necessary, speak louder than they feel comfortable, and constantly adjust who they are to fit someone else's expectations. But here's the truth that many people discover far too late. The more desperately you seek validation, the more power you hand over to others. When your confidence depends on someone else's opinion, your peace disappears the moment that opinion changes. Real confidence is not something another person gives you. It is something you decide to build every single day. It doesn't come from compliments, social media likes, or applause from a crowd. Those things feel good for a moment, but they disappear just as quickly as they arrive. Lasting confidence is built in private, during the moments when no one is watching. It grows every time you keep a promise to yourself. It grows when you choose discipline instead of excuses. It grows when you stay true to your values, even when taking the easier path would bring quicker rewards. Think about the people who leave the strongest impression on you. Chances are they are not constantly trying to prove themselves. They don't enter every conversation searching for approval. They don't spend every moment explaining why they deserve respect. Instead, they carry themselves with quiet certainty. That certainty doesn't come from believing they are better than everyone else. It comes from knowing exactly who they are. They understand that their worth isn't determined by popularity, comparison, or outside recognition. Their identity is rooted in something much deeper. The greatest mistake many people make is believing that confidence is about appearing perfect. It isn't. Confidence is about accepting your imperfections without allowing them to define your future. Every successful person has experienced failure. Every respected leader has faced criticism. Every inspiring individual has doubted themselves at some point. The difference is that they refuse to let those moments become permanent labels. They understood that failure is an event, not an identity. When you begin valuing yourself, something remarkable happens. Your decisions become clearer. You stop saying yes to opportunities that betray your values, simply because your values. When you're afraid of disappointing people, you stop chasing relationships that require you to shrink your personality. You stop competing with everyone around you, because you realize your greatest competition is the person you were yesterday. Suddenly, your energy is no longer spent proving your value. Instead, it is invested in creating value. People often believe attraction begins with appearance, words, or status. Those things may capture attention for a moment, but they rarely create lasting admiration. What truly draws people towards someone is authenticity. Authenticity cannot be manufactured because it comes from alignment. It is the feeling that your words, actions, beliefs, and character all point in the same direction. When people sense that alignment, they trust you. They respect you. They feel safe around you, because they know they are meeting the real person rather than a carefully constructed performance. One of the most liberating decisions you will ever make is realizing that not everyone has to really understand you. Not everyone has to agree with your dreams. Not everyone has to appreciate your journey. The moment you stop trying to win every person's approval, you gain the freedom to become the person you were meant to be. That freedom is incredibly powerful because it allows your actions to be guided by purpose instead of fear. Imagine planting a tree. You don't dig it up every week to check whether the roots are growing. You water it consistently, protect it through difficult seasons, and trust the process. Self-worth develops in exactly the same way. It isn't built overnight through one motivational speech or one successful day. It grows through small, consistent choices that nobody applauds. Reading one more chapter when you're tired. Exercising when nobody expects you to. Speaking honestly when lying would be easier. Walking away from situations that compromise your dignity. These quiet decisions become the roots of lasting confidence. There will always be voices telling you that you need to become more to deserve respect. More successful. More attractive. More accomplished. More popular. But life has a different lesson waiting for those willing to listen. The strongest people are not the ones who spend their lives collecting approval. They are the ones who discover that their value was never something to be earned in the first place. It was something to be recognized, protected, and expressed. When you truly believe that your worth is not negotiable, you begin showing up differently. You listen more than you argue. You learn more than you compare. You serve more than you seek recognition. And perhaps most importantly, you inspire others to discover their own value. Not because you told them to, but because you demonstrated what quiet confidence looks like. That's the kind of strength that changes relationships, transforms careers, and ultimately changes lives. Everything meaningful begins the moment you stop asking the world to tell you who you are, and start living as the person you already know you can become. We often believe that influence belongs to the person who speaks the loudest, explains the most, or always has the perfect answer. But if you pay close attention to the people who naturally command respect, you'll notice something different. They are comfortable with silence. They don't feel pressured to fill every pause with words. They understand that silence is not emptiness. It is presence. It is confidence without performance. It is the ability to remain calm while everyone else is rushing to be heard. In today's world, silence has become rare. We are surrounded by constant notifications, endless opinions, and an endless desire to be seen. Many people feel that if they aren't talking, posting, or explaining themselves, they are somehow falling behind. But the strongest individuals understand a powerful truth. You don't have to reveal everything to prove your value. In fact, the more secure you become, the less you feel the need to constantly justify yourself. Think about the last conversation that truly stayed with you. It probably wasn't because someone spoke nonstop. It was because they listened, they paid attention, they made you feel like your words mattered. Genuine listening is one of the rarest forms of respect in the modern world. While everyone else is preparing their next response, a truly confident person is focused on understanding. That simple habit changes everything because people don't report. Just remember what you said. They remember how you made them feel. There is a difference between being silent because you're afraid and being silent because you're jarred. What? Fearful silence hides. Confident silence observes. Fearful silence comes from insecurity. Confident silence comes from self-control. When you know who you are, you don't feel the need to win every argument or dominate every conversation. You understand that not every opinion deserves a response, and not every misunderstanding requires an explanation. One of the greatest strengths you can develop is learning to become comfortable with moments of pause. When someone challenges you, your first instinct may be to defend yourself immediately. But imagine choosing a different response. Imagine taking a breath, thinking carefully, and speaking only after your emotions settle. That brief silence can completely change the direction of a conversation. It shows maturity, patience, and emotional intelligence. It tells others that your actions are guided by wisdom rather than impulse. Silence also creates curiosity. Human nature is fascinating. When someone constantly explains themselves, there is very little left to discover. But when a person speaks with intention instead of excess, people naturally become more interested in what they have to say. This isn't about playing games or pretending to be mysterious. It's about recognizing that every thought doesn't need to be spoken, and every achievement doesn't need to be announced. Sometimes your work can introduce you long before your words ever do. Many of the greatest opportunities in life come from observing what others miss. Observation requires quietness. You cannot truly understand people if you're always focused on being understood yourself. Watch how people treat those who cannot benefit them. Notice whether their actions match their promises. Pay attention to what isn't being said. These details often reveal far more than long conversations ever could. Silence sharpens awareness, and awareness leads to better decisions. There is another gift hidden inside silence. It protects your peace. Not every criticism deserves your energy. Not every insult deserves your attention. Some battles are won not by fighting harder, but by refusing to fight at all. This doesn't mean accepting disrespect or avoiding necessary conversations. It means choosing your responses wisely. Every time you refuse to react emotionally to unnecessary conflict, you preserve your strength for the things that truly matter. The people who make the greatest impact are rarely those who speak the most. They are the ones whose words carry weight because they choose them carefully. When someone knows that you don't speak just to hear your own voice, they naturally pay closer attention when you do. Your words become valuable because they are intentional. Like gold, value increases when something is rare. Thoughtful communication follows the same principle. Imagine standing beside a calm lake early in the morning. The water reflects everything because it is still. Now imagine that same lake during a storm. The surface becomes so disturbed that nothing can be seen clearly. The human mind works in much the same way. When it is constantly filled with noise, distractions, and the need to respond to everything, clarity disappears. But when you create moments of stillness, your judgment improves. Your confidence deepens. Your purpose becomes easier to recognize. As you move through life, remember that your voice is powerful, but your presence can be even more powerful. Let your actions speak before your announcements. Let your character introduce you before your reputation does. Listen with genuine curiosity instead of waiting for your turn to speak. Allow silence to become a place where wisdom grows instead of a space you feel compelled to fill. Because in a world where everyone is competing to be heard, the person who truly listens, observes, and speaks with intention often becomes the one people trust, respect, and remember long after the conversation has ended. There is a moment in every person's life when they are faced with a choice, not a choice between success and failure or between winning and losing, but a far more important choice, whether to let their emotions control their actions or to let their values guide them instead. That single decision shapes the quality of every relationship, every opportunity, and every challenge they will ever face. The strongest people are not those who never feel anger, disappointment, fear, or frustration. They are the ones who have learned that feeling an emotion and acting on it are two completely different things. We live in a world that encourages instant reactions. A message arrives, and we feel the need to respond immediately. Someone criticizes us, and we want to defend ourselves without thinking. A disagreement appears, and suddenly we believe that whoever speaks first or loudest has won. But life doesn't reward the fastest reaction. More often than not, it rewards the wisest response. Wisdom begins in the small space between what happens to you and how you choose to respond. Imagine standing in the middle of a storm. The wind is strong, the rain is relentless, and everything around you seems out of control. You cannot stop the storm from coming, but you can decide whether you will stand firmly or allow the wind to carry you wherever it wants. Emotions are very much like that storm. They arrive without asking permission. They can be powerful, overwhelming, and impossible to ignore, but they do not have to determine your direction. Your character does. One of the greatest misconceptions about emotional control is that it means suppressing your feelings. It doesn't. Ignoring pain doesn't make it disappear. Pretending you are never hurt doesn't make you stronger. Emotional maturity means acknowledging exactly what you feel while refusing to let those feelings become your master. You can be disappointed without becoming bitter. You can be angry without becoming cruel. You can be afraid without allowing fear to stop you from moving forward. Think about the leaders, mentors, or role models you admire most. Chances are they have all experienced moments of tremendous pressure. They have faced criticism, setbacks, rejection, and uncertainty. Yet what made them inspiring wasn't the absence of emotion. It was their ability to remain steady when everyone else expected them to fall apart. They understood that people don't simply follow confidence, they follow consistency. And consistency becomes possible only when emotions are managed instead of allowed to take control. Consider how many regrets begin with the words, "I was angry," "I was emotional," or "I wasn't thinking." A single moment of uncontrolled emotion can damage a relationship that took years to build. One careless sentence can leave scars that an apology cannot completely erase. This is why emotional discipline is not a weakness, it is protection. It protects your future from decisions made during temporary moments of frustration. There is incredible strength in the ability to pause. That brief pause before sending a message, before raising your voice, before making a life-changing decision can completely alter the outcome. During that pause, you give your values the opportunity to speak louder than your emotions. You ask yourself, will this action make tomorrow better? Or am I simply trying to satisfy today's feelings? That simple question has the power to transform your relationships, your career, and your life. Emotional control also changes the way other people experience your presence. When those around you know that you don't panic under pressure, they begin to trust you. They feel safe sharing ideas because they know they won't be judged impulsively. They feel comfortable bringing problems because they know you will respond thoughtfully, instead of emotionally. Trust is built when people believe your reactions are guided by principles rather than moods. This doesn't mean becoming cold or distant. In fact, emotionally mature people are often the most compassionate individuals you will ever meet. Because they understand their own emotions, they are better able to understand the emotions of others. They don't rush to criticize because they know everyone is carrying battles that cannot always be seen. They replace assumptions with curiosity, judgment with empathy, and conflict with meaningful conversation. Life will continue to test your emotional resilience. There will be moments when plans fall apart, when people disappoint you, and when circumstances seem unfair. You cannot control all of those experiences, but you can control the meaning you give them. Every challenge can become either a reason to lose hope or an opportunity to develop greater patience, wisdom, and resilience. The decision belongs to you. The most powerful person in any room is rarely the one who demands attention or reacts to every word. It is the one who remains calm when others are overwhelmed, who chooses understanding instead of revenge, and who stays true to their values even when emotions tempt them to do otherwise. That kind of strength cannot be purchased, borrowed, or inherited. It is earned through daily practice, one thoughtful response at a time. As you move forward, remember this simple truth. Your emotions are valuable messengers, but they were never meant to become your leaders. Listen to them, learn from them, but let your character make the final decision. Because in the end, people may forget what happened during life's most difficult moments, but they will never forget the person you chose to become while those moments were unfolding. That is where true strength lives, and that is the kind of strength that inspires others long after the storm has passed. One of the greatest misconceptions people have about relationships is believing that another person is supposed to complete them. It sounds romantic, and it has been repeated in countless movies, books, and conversations. But the truth is far more empowering. Healthy relationships are not built by two incomplete people searching for someone to fill the empty spaces in their lives. They are built by two individuals who have committed to growing, learning, and becoming the best versions of themselves. When two whole people come together, they don't complete each other, they strengthen each other. The strongest connections are formed when both people have a purpose that exists beyond the relationship itself. Think about the people you admire most. They are passionate about something. They have goals they are pursuing, values they refuse to compromise, and dreams that continue to inspire them every morning. Their identity is not dependent on whether someone praises them or stays in their life. They know who they are even when they are standing alone. That kind of independence is not distance. It is strength. Many people confuse independence with isolation. They imagine that becoming independent means refusing help, avoiding emotional connection, or pretending they don't need anyone. But true independence has nothing to do with pushing people away. It means that your happiness is not held hostage by another person's choices. It means you appreciate love without depending on it for your sense of worth. It means you welcome relationships as a beautiful part of your life rather than the foundation of your identity. Imagine building a house on unstable ground. No matter how beautiful the structure looks from the outside, cracks will eventually appear because the foundation cannot support the weight. Relationships work the same way. If your self-worth depends entirely on another person, every disagreement feels like a threat. Every misunderstanding becomes a crisis. Every moment of distance creates fear. But when your foundation is built on your own values, purpose, and character, temporary challenges no longer shake your entire world. You remain steady because your confidence comes from within. One of the most attractive qualities any person can develop is having a meaningful life outside of their relationships. This doesn't mean being too busy for the people you care about. It means continuing to learn, grow, create, and pursue goals that matter to you. Whether it's developing a skill, building a career, serving your community, improving your health, or following a lifelong passion, these pursuits shape your identity. They remind you that your life has value beyond the approval or attention of anyone else. Purpose changes the way you enter every relationship. Instead of asking, "What can I get from this person?" you begin asking, "What kind of person can I become while sharing this journey?" That shift transforms everything. You stop viewing people as solutions to your loneliness and begin seeing them as partners in growth. Relationships become less about filling emotional emptiness and more about encouraging each other to become stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. There is another remarkable benefit to independence. It allows you to make decisions based on respect instead of fear. Fear often whispers that you should tolerate unhealthy behavior because you might not find someone else. Fear convinces you to remain silent when your values are being compromised. Fear tells you that being alone is worse than being unhappy. But purpose has a different voice. It reminds you that protecting your dignity is never a mistake. It teaches you that walking away from situations that diminish your character creates space for opportunities that honor it. People are naturally drawn to those who live with purpose because purpose creates energy. You can see it in the way they speak, the way they work, and the way they carry themselves. They are not trying to impress everyone around them because they are too focused on becoming the person they were created to be. That quiet dedication is inspiring. It encourages others to raise their own standards instead of lowering them to gain acceptance. This doesn't mean life will always feel easy. There will still be moments of loneliness, disappointment, and uncertainty. Independence doesn't eliminate those experiences. What it does is give you the confidence to face them without losing yourself. You begin trusting that no matter what happens, you have the strength to rebuild, to adapt, and to continue moving forward. That confidence becomes one of your greatest sources of peace. Think of a tree standing in an open field. During every season, the weather changes. Some days bring sunshine, while others bring storms and powerful winds. The tree survives not because the weather is always perfect, but because its roots grow deep beneath the surface. Your purpose is those roots. Your values are those roots. Your personal growth is those roots. Relationships, opportunities, and achievements become the branches that flourish because the foundation beneath them is strong. As you continue your journey, never allow your identity to be reduced to someone else's opinion or presence. Invest in your mind. Strengthen your character. Build habits that make you proud when no one is watching. Pursue goals that challenge you to become more disciplined, more compassionate, and more courageous. Then, when you invite others into your life, they won't be asked to carry the impossible burden of completing you. Instead, they will have the privilege of walking beside someone who already knows their value, understands their purpose, and chooses connection, not out of desperation, but out of genuine love and respect. That is where the healthiest relationships begin, and that is where lasting fulfillment is found. In a world that celebrates dramatic moments, overnight success, and extraordinary achievements, it is easy to believe that greatness is built through one defining event. We admire the championship trophy, but rarely think about the thousands of hours of practice that came before it. We applaud the successful entrepreneur, but often overlook the years of uncertainty, sacrifice, and persistence that made success possible. The truth is that remarkable lives are rarely built by remarkable moments alone. They are built by ordinary actions repeated with extraordinary consistency. Anyone can be impressive for a day. Anyone can make a promise when they are inspired. Anyone can work hard when motivation is high. But the true measure of character is not what you do once. It is what you choose to do over and over again, especially when no one is watching and there is no immediate reward waiting for you. Consistency is where trust is born, where confidence grows, and where lasting success quietly takes shape. Think about the people you trust the most. It probably isn't because they made one grand gesture that changed your life. You trust them because they showed up repeatedly. They kept their word. They honored their commitments. They were dependable during both the good seasons and the difficult ones. Trust is never created by a single action. It is created through a pattern of actions that remain steady over time. Every fulfilled promise becomes another brick in the foundation of credibility. The same principle applies to the relationship you have with yourself. Every time you tell yourself that you will wake up early, exercise, learn a new skill, or complete an important task, you are making a promise. When you repeatedly break those promises, something invisible begins to happen. Your confidence weakens because deep inside, you stop believing your own words. But every time you follow through, even in small ways, you strengthen your self-respect. You begin proving to yourself that your actions match your intentions. That quiet integrity becomes one of the strongest forms of confidence a person can possess. Many people spend their lives searching for motivation, believing that inspiration must come before action. But motivation is unreliable. Some mornings you will wake up energized, while other mornings, every excuse will seem convincing. If your success depends entirely on how you feel, your progress will always be unpredictable. Discipline, however, does not ask how you feel. It simply reminds you of who you have decided to become. Consistency is choosing your future over your temporary emotions. Imagine a single drop of water falling onto a rock. One drop changes nothing. 100 drops seem insignificant. Even 1,000 may appear to have little effect. But over time, those drops carve through solid stone. The water is not stronger because of its force. It is stronger because of its persistence. Human potential works in exactly the same way. Small daily efforts may seem unimportant in the moment, but over months and years, they create extraordinary transformation. This is why the smallest habits often have the greatest impact. Reading 10 pages every day may not feel life-changing, but after a year, you have gained knowledge that many people never pursue. Exercising for 30 minutes each day may seem ordinary, but over time it strengthens both your body and your discipline. Speaking kindly to those around you may appear simple, yet those consistent acts of respect build relationships that last a lifetime. Success rarely arrives through one giant leap. It is usually the result of countless small steps taken without giving up. There is another powerful reason consistency matters. It gives people a sense of security. Whether in friendships, families, workplaces, or leadership, people naturally gravitate toward those who are reliable. They know what to expect because your values remain steady even when circumstances change. They trust you not because you are perfect, but because your character remains dependable. Consistency tells people that your principles are stronger than your moods. Life will always test your commitment. There will be days when progress feels invisible. There will be seasons when your efforts seem unnoticed. You may wonder whether all your hard work is making any difference at all. During those moments, remember that the greatest transformations often happen beneath the surface long before they become visible. Just as a seed spends weeks developing roots before breaking through the ground, your consistent efforts are preparing you for opportunities you cannot yet see. One of the biggest obstacles to consistency is the temptation to compare your journey with someone else's. Comparison creates frustration because it focuses on outcomes instead of progress. You see another person's achievements but rarely witness the years of disciplined effort behind them. Your only responsibility is to become slightly better than you were yesterday. Improvement does not require perfection. It only requires persistence. Imagine an architect constructing a magnificent building. If workers skipped the foundation because it wasn't exciting, the structure would eventually collapse. The foundation is not glamorous, but it is essential. In the same way, the daily habits that seem repetitive are actually supporting the life you hope to build. Every disciplined decision, every promise kept, every act of integrity is strengthening the foundation beneath your future. As you move forward, remember that greatness is not reserved for those who occasionally perform at their best. It belongs to those who remain faithful to their purpose long after excitement fades. Let your actions speak louder than your intentions. Let your reliability become your reputation. Continue taking the small steps that others overlook, because those steps eventually become the path that leads to extraordinary results. In the end, people may admire your achievements, but they will respect the consistency that made those achievements possible. And when your words and your actions remain aligned day after day, you build something more valuable than success itself. You build a life defined by trust, character, and lasting influence. At some point in life, almost everyone asks the same question, even if they never say it out loud. How do I become someone people admire, respect, and never forget? Most people begin searching for the answer in the wrong places. They focus on gaining attention instead of earning respect. They try to impress instead of improve. They spend enormous amounts of time wondering what others think of them, while investing very little time becoming the kind of person they would admire themselves. But lasting influence has never been created by chasing approval. It is created by committing to continuous personal growth. The most powerful transformation begins the moment you stop asking, "How can I get people to notice me?" and start asking, "How can I become someone worth noticing?" Those two questions may sound similar, but they lead to completely different lives. The first depends on external recognition. The second depends on internal development. One leaves your confidence in the hands of others. The other places your future in your own hands. Every meaningful journey starts with an honest conversation in front of the mirror. Not a conversation about your appearance, your status, or your accomplishments, but about your character. Are you becoming more patient than you were last year? Are you more disciplined than you were 6 months ago? Have you learned from your failures instead of allowing them to define you? Are your daily habits taking you closer to the life you dream about? Or are they quietly pulling you further away? Growth begins with honesty, because you cannot improve what you refuse to acknowledge. Many people wait for the perfect opportunity before deciding to become better. They tell themselves that they will start reading when life becomes less busy, begin exercising when work slows down, improve their attitude when circumstances become easier, or pursue their dreams after someone finally believes in them.